Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, titled Narada Instructs the Prachetas, texts 4 and 5. Tamagatam tautaya pranipatya binandyacha pujayitva yata desham sukhasinam atabruvan Tamagatam tuataya pranipataya binandaya cha pujayatam yadashtashtam suksanam atabruvan Tamagatam tautaya pranipatya binandaya cha pujatitva yata desham sukashanam atabruvan. So that was text 4 and then text 5. Prachetasa uchu swagatam te shotadaya dishtyano darshanam gata tava chankaraman brahman abhyaya yatarave prachetasa uchu swagatam te surashe daya dishtyano darshanam gata tava chankramanam brahman abhaya yatarave swagatam te sura rishedaya dishtyano darshanam gata tava chankramanam brahman abhyaya yatarave. Tam, him, agatam, appeared, te, all the prachetas, uttaya, after getting up, pranipatya, offering obeisances, abhinandaya, offering welcome, cha, also, pujayitva, worshipping, yata adesham, according to regulative principles, sukha asanam, comfortably situated, ata, thus, abruvan, they said, pracheta sauchu, the pracheta said, su agatam, welcome, te, unto you, Sura Rishe, O sage among the demigods, Adya, today, Dishtya, by good fortune, Na, of us, Darshanam, audience, Gita, you have come, Tava, your, Chankramana, movements, Brahman, O great Brahmana, Abhayaya, for fearlessness, Yata, as, Rave, of the sun, Translations and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As soon as the Prachetas saw that the great sage Narada had appeared, they immediately got up, even from their asanas. As required, they immediately offered obeisances and worshipped him. And when they saw that Narada Muni was properly seated, they began to ask him questions. And there's a purport to text 4, but it's only one line. It is significant that all the prachetas were engaged in practicing yoga to concentrate their minds on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then text 5, translation. All the prachetas began to address the great sage Narada. O great sage, O Brahmana, we hope you met with no disturbances while coming here. It is due to our great fortune that we are now able to see you. By the traveling of the sun, people are relieved from the fear of darkness of night, a fear brought about by thieves and rogues. Similarly, your traveling is like the sun's, for you drive away all kinds of fear. Purport. Because of the night's darkness, everyone is afraid of rogues and thieves, especially in great cities. People are often afraid to go out on the streets, and we understand that even in a great city like New York, people do not like to go out at night. More or less, when it is night, everyone is afraid, either in the city or in the village. However, as soon as the sun rises, everyone is relieved. Similarly, the material world is dark by nature. Everyone is afraid of danger at every moment. But when one sees a devotee like Narada, all fear is relieved. Just as the sun disperses darkness, the appearance of a great sage like Narada disperses ignorance. When one meets Narada, or his representative, the spiritual master. One is freed from all anxiety brought about by ignorance. Om Ginataramandasya Ginanjana Shlakaya Chakshmaitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in this verse, and purport, the material world is compared to be in a condition of night, of darkness. And it's explained that uh, just as during the darkness of night, there are always rogues and thieves that are waiting to plunder an individual and cause him distress. Likewise, in this material world, there are always unfavorable elements that are present, things that we would like not to have, but are there anyway. And this is the thing that is symbolized by the thieves and rogues in this example, that we want to enjoy in our material life in various ways in the material world, but there are always elements that are meant to bring about misery, because this material world is a place of misery. One cannot actually have any sort of permanent or even long-lasting happiness in this material world because of all of these unfavorable elements that brings upon one the misfortune that is emblematic or is built into this material world. Every situation or action that we find ourselves in the material world is actually inundated with misery. We try to be happy in so many ways. We try to make certain plans, try to adjust certain material conditions, but they never work. They never turn out how we want them to. There are, of course, many various ways that we try to be happy in this world, but if one analyzes them, they always come with distress as well. It's like two sides of the same coin. If one has one side of a coin, then one automatically has the other side. One cannot separate a coin. And if one tries to cut a coin in half, it's not that you have one side and then another. You now just have two things with two sides. So there's always various miserable conditions in the material world. And even the happy conditions in the material world are also miserable conditions. So it might be in a condition like pain or some sort of mental distress that everybody recognizes as being misfortune. But even in so-called fortunate positions, we can see that there is actually also distress. So for example, if one buys a new car that's very nice, and one is very proud of it, say it's, I don't know, Ferrari or a Tesla or some new expensive car, one might be enjoying the prestige and the social status that that sort of car gives you. But there's actually so much suffering that is there only because you have this very nice car. Somebody uh, keyed your car or broke a mirror or something. A person who is attached to this thing would feel so much distress. It actually would be like they were attacked themselves uh, because they identify so much with the car. And even if that doesn't happen, one is in anxiety about uh, these things happening and always thinking, how do I stop these things from happening to this car that I'm so attached to and is a symbol of my might and masculine prowess and competence. And even so, I know sometimes I've heard, uh, I think I knew a couple of people who did this, who had very nice cars. When they go to the grocery store or something, they actually park very far away because they know everybody wants to park close and they want to minimize the chance of somebody accidentally hitting their car either while they're parking or with the shopping cart. So they park purposefully very far away from the entrance to the store because of their attachment to this car and not having it be damaged. And then even if there's uh, no anxiety over the object itself, there's anxiety over one's position in the eyes of other, one's status in the eyes of other. Going with this example of the car again, uh, if one insults your car or makes a joke about it or does something to attack your position, that can also be very distressful. Uh, I've actually seen something like this happen before. Somebody that I knew had a very nice car, and then I'm not really a car person, so I don't know all of the different brands. But whatever type of it started with a C, and then somebody else accidentally called it another type of car that also started with a C, but it was just like a general car that you would have. Uh, and the first person who owned the car that was the nice car that was mislabeled as a just I guess middle class car was very upset by this. He was actually uh, very disturbed by the misidentification of his specific type of car because it was the status. And this is actually a fearful, or yes, this is actually a distressful condition of life. And if one looks at all of these things, one doesn't, these miseries are only there because of the attempt to enjoy by having this nice car. Now, one could go through this example with so many other types of things. But if one was not trying to enjoy, one would not have these distresses. If one didn't have a nice car, or one didn't have a car at all, or if one had a just general, you know, middle class, I guess you could say, car, which gets you from point A to point B just as nicely as the fancy ones. They won't have, for example, the status anxiety of how others perceive me and my opulent material possessions. And any enjoyment in the material world, any enjoyment that is there, is very insignificant compared to the distress. It might feel intense in the moment, but the moment is very brief. And in this way, one just goes back to whatever condition one was in before enjoying. So this is an example of this. Last year, I was one of the authors on a scientific paper. And this project was going on for the research we were doing. The project was started a few years ago. So the project was started in 2020, and the first paper was submitted in 2022. So then everyone, we kind of all congratulated ourselves, and we're very happy. Oh, uh, good job. This is a very good thing. This is a very uh, good situation. But almost immediately afterwards, it's like, what are we going to do next? How are we going to expand on this? Because there is always also that, well, on one side, there's the insignificance of the happiness. It does not sustain in the material world. And then also there's the anxiety over, again, one's position. How will I maintain myself if I lose my position in this academic sphere, and how to uh, gain status among my colleagues, etc. And actually, this is backed up by uh, psychological studies as well. According to the psychologists, everybody has a happiness set point, where no matter one might be boosted up or down by this happiness set points, by from this happiness set point by various events in one's life. If something very good happens, you might feel a bit good for a while. Something very bad happens, you might feel down in the dumps. But uh, one will always return to the happiness set point, according to these researchers. Uh, so one can see, if one analyzes the material world, there's always unfavorable elements, and it is always a place of misery. And this situation in this verse is compared to the darkness of night. And that's a very apropos comparison, that the darkness of night is compared to the darkness of ignorance. And if one looks at this, or if one thinks about the condition of night, especially dark nights where it's cloudy, or there is uh, a new moon, so there's no moon showing. One sees that it is a very fearful condition in many cases. And I was thinking, just like in the material world, much of this fearful condition is born out of ignorance. One does not know uh, what is in one's surrounding as well as one does in the daytime. There might be people hiding in the shadows, or some wild animal or something. I was actually reflecting when I was thinking about this. One time I've spent a few days staying on the beach, and in the morning, before changing my rounds, I would get up and go bathe in the ocean. And it was a very disconcerting, actually, walking out there, or it was a bit disconcerting, because one doesn't know what is, one doesn't know as well as in the day what is in one's surroundings. So so it's usually darker on the beach because there isn't so much street lamps or anything. One cannot see into the water. So the fearful condition is caused by ignorance. I don't know what is out there. And likewise, the fearful condition of the material world is also born out of ignorance. What is the point of this life? Why am I born into this world where I want to live only to die? Why is there so much suffering in the material world? And we are all born into the darkness of ignorance. As we say at the beginning of Bhagavatam class, Om Ginetiramanasya Ginanjana Shlakaya Chokshmatamyana Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born into the darkness of ignorance. And in And this is actually the ultimate fearful condition of life. We don't know what the proper goal of life is. We don't know what the proper situation we should strive towards, what actually the situation is in the material world. Think about actually how stressful a condition, not knowing what the proper goal of life is. That one can work one's whole life for a certain thing, a certain goal. And then, at the end, one realizes that it was all for nothing, that this is actually not the actual goal of life. You see some of these high-powered business people that they sacrifice everything for the sake of financial or economic development. And they sacrifice their own uh, families. They might have broken families, their own health sometimes, uh, so many different opportunities, all for some sort of economic development and some sort of meager enjoyment on their own part. And at the end of life, what happens? You don't see anybody, you would barely see anybody in the nursing home or on their deathbed saying, I wish I had earned just a little bit more money. No, it is always, I wish I had spent more time with family. I wish I had uh, acted in a more philanthropic way and trying to do good for the world, things like this. Uh, so it's actually a very fearful condition not to know the goal of life. And one might think, okay, I'll spend my youthful years when I have so much energy to try to make some advancement in uh, sense gratification and in economic development. And in this way, when I have all sorts of energy, I will enjoy so much. And then when I get old and the body is not giving me as much energy as it previously did, at that time I will uh, give those years to Krishna. But one is not guaranteed of uh, danger at, or one is not guaranteed of those years because there's danger at every step. One is actually guaranteed of danger at every step in this material world. Uh, you know, it's uh, people think, oh, I'll reach old age, but one can think there are two ways of what one could call old. One is that you've lived a long time. So there's many years since your birth, and the other side, uh, that is that there are relatively fewer years until you have to leave your body. But actually, we could leave our body at any moment. So in that, if take the second definition, any of us could be considered to be in old age. Because of this material world, there is danger at every step. Things happen where we have no control over, but that are extremely impacting us, even up to the point of causing us to leave our body. It's the political leaders of the world bark back and forth at each other, and it has nothing to do with some uh, random person who's just trying to live their life in whatever country. And then all of a sudden, due to the barking like dogs back and forth of the political leaders, this random person is either attacked through bombing or conscripted into military service. Uh, and it's totally out of their control. But that is the state of the material world, that in every step there's danger. And this is a very distressful condition of life if one is in the darkness of ignorance and one does not know the ultimate goal of life. And this is where the spiritual master comes in. So Narada or his representatives. And the spiritual master, like the sun, comes to dissipate the darkness. Whereas the sun dissipates the darkness of night, the spiritual master shows proper knowledge and dissipates the darkness of ignorance, the darkness of the material world, and how we are engaging in all sorts of improper goals of life, and how in many ways we are wasting our lives unless we are engaged in Krishna consciousness. Because the spiritual master, his qualification is that, of course, that he heard from his spiritual master, but is that he teaches pure Krishna consciousness. So pure bhakti, unmotivated by any uh, or by any other desires and unadulterated by any other process. This is actually the process that will drive away all of our fears. One might be in a very fearful condition from the misfortunes of the material world, but by taking the instructions of the spiritual master and practicing bhakti yoga according to his instructions, one can be liberated from this fearful condition of life. And there's actually no material process that will eliminate anxiety and fear. People might be so anxious about one thing or another, but this is actually the state of the material world. It's not that we can find some other process that will alleviate the fearful conditions of material life. It's sadness, anxiety, fear, etc. The only process is chanting Hare Krishna. There's no other way than the chanting of the holy names to actually be relieved of the ultimate fearful conditions of life. And this is the process that the spiritual master teaches. Chant Hare Krishna, uh, perform intense devotional service, read Srila Prabhupada's books, and this way go back to Godhead and be delivered from this miserable place of the material world. Uh, so that's all that I have. Uh, Hopefully there are some comments or questions for us to fill the remaining time. No comments or questions?
I thank you for a nice class. Apart from that, I'm throwing a blank at the moment.
Aye. Well, if there are no comments or questions, then Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Era anticipato non sapeva il cacciare si interessa per sessionare il sigla non sono uscito per il già anticipato per scrivere cacciare si interessa per sessionare non sono in Greece c'è batte si interessa per persone per anche punti questionati nelle isconviviti founder Acharya ce lo fare così Nama Acharya ce la ridassa pure così prima di tutto c'è Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhara Sri Gaurava Kalina Shri Radha Krishna Govinda Shama Kunda Kunda Dili Govardhana Jai Shri Vrindavan Shri Pradhan Shri Navdi Pran Shri Dwargadam Shri Jai Puri Jai Swami Jai Gita Nagari Jai Shri Radha Andara Jai Lalita Vishaka Devi Jai Shri Taikora Sundar Jai Lama Maya Jai Amana Maya Jai Bhakti Devi Jai Srimad Tulsi Devi Jai Harinam Sankirtan Jai Nikaya Gora Samaveta Govinda Jai all glory to the Samudviti, all glory to the Samudviti, all glory to the Samudviti, all glory to the Lotus Feet of Shishim. First meetings. Darkness and thoughts leads the perfection of the soul desires. He opens my dark eyes and fills my heart with trance. Then my one cheese, my Lord, Right, the babies. Simply started. Spiritual masters, you wish for mercy, friend and poor, on a master to be. Oh, master, please be merciful unto us. You can see very next to it. We take some. You don't have to recite the prayers like you change up. Why not? Because they don't have enough breath. Okay. Hare Krishna devotees. See you later.